Welcome to Cues on the Move. This week's podcast highlights the fatherhood and mentoring programs conducted by chapters of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. My name is Frank Miles. I happen to be a co-chair of Tau Pi's mentoring initiative, and we're located in Columbia, Maryland. I will be your host for this segment of Cues on the Move. This podcast will specifically focus on mentoring programs from the educator's perspective. With me today are Mr. Jamie Robinson, and who is a middle school mentor, and Mr. Kenneth Barrett, a high school mentor. As you may recall, Tau Pi's mentoring program really started in 1994 at Guilford Elementary School in Columbia, Maryland. It was initiated in response to low academic scores among African American male students. The purpose of Tau Pi's mentoring program was to reverse this observed negative educational trend. With that in mind, the goal of our mentoring program is for our mentees, of course, to improve their academic performance, increase mentee cultural awareness and appreciation. Most important, improve self-esteem. We want our mentees to comply with social and school behavior norms, develop social responsibility to community service and uplift. Our mentees consist of students ranging from the 3rd grades to the 12th grades, totaling 26 students and 23 mentees. To get a better insight of our program, let's have our two mentor educators provide us some background about themselves before we have our panel discussion. Jamie, you want to start?
Yes, sir. It's Jimmy Robinson III. I teach high school in Baltimore City. I've been teaching high school in Baltimore City since 1997. Started off in my undergraduate studies at Towson University. I was a major in business administration and sociology. From there, I did graduate studies, a master's in special education at Coppin State University. And after that, I earned a second master's in reading instruction, it was a master's of arts in teaching from National University. And now I'm working on my third graduate degree in distance education. I love staying in school. Always a student. So that's a little bit of my academic background. And I enjoy the mentoring program tremendously. Being an educator in Baltimore City, I see the other side. And this program fulfills a need, tremendous need.
Kenneth, what about you?
My name is Kenneth Barrett, and I'm a high school counselor in Anne Arundel County at Old Mill High School. This is my 27th year as being a high school counselor. I have both a bachelor's and master's degree. My bachelor's degree is from Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, and my master's degree is from Loyola University of Maryland in school counseling. I also have, in addition to my master's degree, I have 30 additional graduate credits beyond the master's degree.
Great. With that background information, let's discuss some questions and views that you all may have with respect to our mentoring program. For example, have either of you gentlemen done any mentoring before you came to our program?
Yes. I still do some mentoring when I can, actually in Baltimore City, and I do that with a boxing club called Umar Boxing Club, and the program is twofold. First part of the program is educational. That's first and foremost. But then the second part of the program is boxing, and the goal is to teach the kids not only boxing, but teach them discipline as well. And the motto of Umar Boxing Club is no hooks before books.
Oh.
Yeah, I myself am a graduate of Loyola High School. It was a Jesuit high school in Towson, Maryland. And I've, over the years, mentored students who were minority students, primarily African American, at Loyola. Primarily just giving them academic and social support.
Okay. with that, the question I'm curious is that you all have had experience in mentoring programs, but why have you come to our Omega mentoring program that Talpi has at Guilford Elementary School?
Okay. Well, I came to the program because I now live in Howard County. I'm a resident of Howard County, and found out about the Omega Mentoring Program. And for me, as a counselor, I'm always interested in helping young black males, and so that was a real opportunity for me to do that.
Oh, thank you. Jimmy?
Yeah. I feel it's essential that our young black males have role models. And Tau Pi Omega Psi Phi have a wealth of professionals who are able to mentor and be role models for our young men in Howard County. There are a lot of young men who have great potential, but they need to see someone like them who is successful and who's accomplished. And Tau Pi does that.
Great. You know, one of the things that's important, and I'm interested to hear it from your standpoint, which I hope anyone who's viewing this podcast will hear it as well. From an educator's perspective, what successes have you observed academically and culturally, since we're both into that particular area in terms of our program? Our program is a holistic program, which you gentlemen hopefully will attest to, and it's not just earning grades and improving grades, which can be a challenge sometimes. But I was just curious, as educators, and you're looking at someone who's not an educator but likes education, I was quite interested in hearing what your opinion and observations have been relative to academic success and cultural improvement and awareness among our mentees.
I would say from a teacher perspective, one of the challenges, particularly with African American males, is getting them to make real world connections from the classroom to what they see on the book, on the board, and what they're doing in class. In the tutoring sessions I see on Saturdays, you have men who look like them, who are professionals, and who have implement sound pedagogical strategies. Breaking things down to them, which is required in education, to do what we call scaffolding. Not give them the whole piece, but give it to them step by step by step. Sometimes they don't get that in the classroom. That's what I see from an academic perspective. And also I see from a social perspective, just seeing someone, who they can identify with and make a connection with. Because education, if they like you, then you're more able to get them, to challenge them to meet their potentials.
Okay. Kenneth, what about yourself?
Yes, I'm on the high school side of the mentoring program. So what I see is that an opportunity for some of the mentors to present to the mentees some programs, over a wealth of different kinds of issues. And the one thing that I really enjoy about the high school program is that it's not just about someone standing up there talking at the kids. That's part of it. But after that, we have time where we meet individually with our mentees, and we talk about grades, but not just about grades. We talk about life. And we talk about how they're doing. Okay, your grades are one thing, but how are things in your life going for you? Because it really is not just an academic thing, but it's a life thing.
Right. Jimmy?
Yeah. To piggyback on that too, this past Saturday I think it was tremendous. We had the career day, and we had pilots there. There were fire chiefs there. There were doctors there. And these students got a chance to interact with professionals from Omega Psi Phi, who were professionals at a high level. One young man is amazing to see him. He put on the pilot's helmet.
Oh yeah,
it was amazing, to
Right.
see that, and just having the doctor there passing instruments around, making those real world connections, which go a long way to motivating them academically. Tremendous.
Right. And I think I ought to point out the fact that we have divided our mentees into three groups: elementary, middle school, and the high school. The focus is different in each group. Basically, the elementary mentees are being prepared to go to middle school. The middle school mentees are being prepared to go to high school. For example, I think, Jimmy, you gave a class on reading and writing.
Yes, sir.
And the idea was that we wanted to stress how important it is and also the importance of reading comprehension as opposed to just saying things and not understanding what they were.
Yes, yeah, yeah. In the reading comprehension, one of my graduate degrees is in reading instruction, and some people misinterpret reading fluency with intelligence. Some of our young students, they struggle with big words for many different reasons, but they are still intelligent and they think on grade level. But just seeing them read fluently, people misinterpret their intelligence. So what we did in the reading comprehension, we addressed vocabulary, which is part of Common Core, one of the strategies that's required to meet Common Core standards. So we did vocabulary, and then we did analyzing text evidence and them identifying keywords. And those strategies we address in our mentoring and tutoring, which they do in the classroom in school. And sometimes they might not get it all in class, but in mentoring we can reinforce what they do in the classroom.
Okay, Kenneth, we had talked about that we have three different levels, and the focus on the high school level is to get our young men ready to go to college.
Yes.
Okay, and I know there are some experiences that you've had there of observing the program, and I was wondering how you felt about like the SAT preparation and those type of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important. One of the things that I tell, the mentees on the high school level is that it's not just about your SAT scores, but it's about your grades. Your grades are first and foremost, and then it's your SAT scores, and then it's your extracurricular activities. Because colleges are looking for well-rounded students, right? Sure. They just don't want students to do well in the classroom and go home at 2:05. But they want students that do well in the classroom, but they also want to see that students have gotten involved in their high school. Okay. Because their thinking is that if students have gotten involved in their high school, they're likely to get involved when they come to us.
Right, very good. Also, let me ask another question of you, gentlemen, and that is, from an educator standpoint, how would you evaluate the program that we have? Jimmy?
I would rate it excellent. There's research that's been done by John Hopkins that says this, that a student who has one African American teacher is 18% more likely to graduate from high school. Some people, don't understand that in our country, that there's 1.7% African American male teachers in our country. Some students go to school and never see a black male teacher. And this is important for our young men to see role models. On Saturday, they see 10 to 15 teachers, instructors every Saturday. And that makes a big difference for them engaging with the content, engaging with academics. Mm-hmm. So the program that is offered by Taopai offers something that is not available in many schools.
Very good. Ken?
Yeah, I would just sort of piggyback off of what Jimmy said, and I think he's absolutely right. Unfortunately, some of our mentees don't have any black teachers, and some of them may never have a black teacher. But twice a month, every month, they get to see us. They get to see 15, 20 black men who are successful, who are doing the right thing, and who want to give back.
Mm-hmm. That's good insight. Academically, what do you think we need to add to our program to make it a little bit better than what it is, or to improve? Have you guys given that any thought? Because one of the things that we do in our program is that we have several what we call mentor retreats. And we had one this Saturday, really. And what we are continually doing is trying to hear from people as to the things that we need to do to make the program better, okay, to be more responsive and to be current, All right. So therefore, we not only ask the parents, we ask the mentors, but we also are looking at educators. We're very fortunate in that that the thing that helps us a lot is having Miss Holland there with us, who is also an educator, to make sure that we're going on in the right path. And that is also one of the reasons that we also have lesson plans for all instructions, right? Right. Okay. I was wondering. So, is there anything that you guys have picked on that you think maybe we need to add?
So I think for me, what I see being on the high school side is that I think it's important if we, because the mentees get to see the mentors present. But I think it would be a good idea that we see the mentees present.
Okay.
And in fact, we did have one of our mentees present, Eddie, and he did a really good job. He did a really good job. But I think we should let all the mentees present something. You know, and I think that could
Get
that
better
would-
engagement that
better
way.
engagement.
Right.
It gives them an opportunity to get up and speak in front of people, because a lot of people that are still frightened by that. So why not let them do that, and let them do that at this age when they're young?
Good point. Jimmy?
Yeah. There's one practice that's being pushed in Baltimore City. It's called restorative practices. And that is where it seems kind of basic, but it requires that students and the mentors gather together in a circle and discuss things. There's a wealth of knowledge. On Saturdays you have gentlemen there who are engineers, who are IT directors, who are business owners from all professions, law enforcement, and just to sit in a circle and have them discuss one another using the restorative practices, which is the Baltimore City that we do. That will make a big, tremendous impact on the young man.
As a member of our Omega mentoring team, one of our goals is also to have community service and understand that there is a commitment, or we expect them to be responsive to community service and uplift, which happens to be one of our cardinal principles. But have you noticed any observations relative to that in terms of how important this has been to the community? Now, speaking of our program, I'm sorry.
Yeah. This past Saturday, we sat with the mentees and discussed report cards. On Thursday, also. One young man, most of them, the grades were coming up. His grades weren't like he wanted to be. Like, he's an intelligent young man, but he didn't, for some reason, struggled a little bit. His parents came, and we sat down with a report card together. And for some parents who may not be familiar with how to do that, that's something that the program offers them to as a to help to connect with their student a little bit better. So I think that's tremendous for parents
Right.
to see that process done.
Right.
Yeah, I would just say that, again, on the high school side, we have an opportunity during our mentoring session to meet with our mentees and have a chance to look at their grades, their report card, and talk about that, and also talk about life as well. But my hope is that what they see us doing, the mentors, that at some point in their life, when they get older,
Right.
they will give back to those who are coming behind them.
Right. Very good. Very good. One of the when you start speaking about community and so forth, one of our initiatives is actually having instructions session, which we don't like to use that word too much, but have a session where we have a professional that comes in that talks with the parent about advocating for their child in the school system. And I don't know if you gentlemen got a chance to do that, because that's something that we've been doing for a while, but it only happens, unfortunately, once during the year. And the idea is to make the parents aware of things that are available to them in the school system, okay? And also, you have the very different programs, and sometimes they are not aware. And they need to also, you've heard us say this because we've been talking about communication, right? Between the mentee, the mentor, and the parent. And the idea is to make sure that the parents understand that, we work as a partnership, and through that partnership, we're trying our best to improve the academic success of our students. Okay, and I guess the big question that really comes to the bottom line, and since I have you two educators there, or here rather, is that, would you recommend our program to anybody?
Oh, absolutely. I would. Are you speaking of to younger?
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's really a benefit in the Tall Pie mentoring program. I see these young men twice a month. I see the enthusiasm that they have, the willingness to listen to us, the willingness to learn. So yeah, absolutely, I would recommend it to other young men.
Okay. Now, Jimmy, you also participate with the elementary school on the weekdays, right?
Yes, sir.
We do have mentoring sessions every Thursday with the elementary school. And how do you feel about that from that perspective of what you're being exposed to when you see, like this last session we went over report cards again, and I'm not going to think what you said, but I was very surprised with what I saw, and I was wondering what was your reaction to that process.
Yeah. I think it's a critical need for parents to get support. Some parents are younger parents, some parents are busy parents. And having someone there in the school, like the mentors are there on Thursday, fulfills a tremendous gap that some kids are falling through. There are a lot of good kids who are falling through the cracks in the school system, either because mom is busy or dad is busy, and today's society is so complex, and a lot of good kids are falling through the cracks. And what I see on Thursdays is that those kids who maybe would fall through the cracks are receiving interventions to help them avoid falling through the cracks, but also to go on to excel. Like we saw in those report cards on Thursday, they're tremendous. Seeing grades go up for those young men, and the lights on their faces, seeing A's, some B's, but A's that really brightened up there. And as you mentioned earlier about the self-esteem,
Right. I thought. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to say, Mr. Miles, the other thing that I would say too about the mentoring program, I know that it's working because those young men are there.
Yes, right.
Every other Saturday, they're
right.
there, and so that also tells me too that the program is working.
Yeah, you got a point there, because what we have observed, we look at attendance, and we find that out of the 26 mentees that we have, quite often we have all of them, and once in a while we may miss one or two, and that they've done just a really great job. What I find interesting, though, and I was wondering, I know you saw your high school guys, but on the elementary school guys, when we started going over their report cards, I happened to sit in on that session as well. I was surprised at all the A's and
Yes, sir.
B's I
Yes.
saw. Not that they didn't demonstrate that, but even if they fell down in a particular course, they said, "I've got to make it better," and you could ask them why, okay, and they can tell you.
That's right.
And of course, it's written in the report card as well. So, finally, gentlemen, with a mission to assist these young African American males in the achievement of academic success, the elevation of self-esteem is extremely important, which is demonstrated quite often by how they communicate. One of the policies we have when they come in on Saturday and also on Thursdays is to walk up to the mentor, shake his hand, and either say good morning or good afternoon with eye contact. One of I think, Ken, you were telling me, and I know you were saying, excuse me, Jimmy, Kent, you were saying that, that eye contact is important, and it's a sign of self-esteem and confidence. And so we've been teaching, you've all been part of that, teaching our young men that they need to demonstrate that. And of course, there's always, which we talk about, is their behavior. and relative to school and relative to just being out in the social norms and complying and not getting on the wrong side of the law. Okay, and those things are very important. So with that, um, we at Tau Pi, like other Omega chapters, believe that mentoring is a necessary tool to ensure the competitiveness and development of our young African American males. So our philosophy has always been, and I think you can attest to this on the discussions we had this weekend, that it takes a village to raise a child, and we are only one part of that village. You both have said how it's important for the parents to be involved, which is something that we stress, as well as working with the teachers and aunts and uncles and so forth. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for viewing our podcast, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.